So I'm going to start closing up some of these big holes I have in the firewall. You see that I saved these pieces because this is where my computer sensors all wired up to this, went to my dash, my AC, all that jazz. So we're going to put it back in. I'm just going to move it from where it was. I'm going to move it here. You can see where I cut it out right here. Somehow this is in the way. So I'm just going to put it straight up. So what I might do is use this as a template and go ahead and cut me out another piece. That way I can go ahead and fold it down here. I'll cut this straight and I'll fold it in here so I can start spot welding it to the inside of my A pillar and to my firewall. And that'll be the beginning of covering our gaps. Once we get the rockers in, though, we'll be able to cover all the gaps. But the rockers kind of the main thing. So we can start up high because we know we're going to have to do this. And we'll just see how far it takes us. Good with you? Good with me. Okay, so this is just kind of a rough thing that I cut out. It's 10.5 inches tall, 5 inches on top, 7 inches on bottom. And now I have marked it at 1 inch right here at the top. So I'm going to put a couple of dots. One at the very top and one at the very bottom. Then I'm going to go ahead and mark it. Okay, so the piece, here's where I marked it. I went up there and checked it out. The deal is that I need to fold it the opposite direction. So marked it 1 inch on the inside and drew my line. Now, here's my elaborate setup for a brake, but this is all I've got. This is a Harbor Freight. I'm not saying go out and get you one. It works. You can make one also. Get your line all lined up. Hold it down with your little clamps. You notice I preset them and then just fold up. So now I've got my bend on my template. Now let's try it on our thing. Okay, so now that I have my bend, I know that I want this to go in. And by setting it right here, I see that some of it is going to go in exactly how we want it because we want our bend to be right at this edge that gives us 1 inch inside that we can spot weld. Let me mark it down here at the bend so I'll know that I'll have to fold it. I might trim this floor some right here so this can be a flat piece and I won't have to go over that hump. Once I slice that there, and then I could just put this over it and fold it over and be able to lap it and get more of a weld. And plus also, the flatter I get that, I'll be able to get more of my lip inside of here that I need to weld to the inside of my A pillar. So yeah, I'm going to whack that a little bit there. Get this piece to fit real nice. I'll trim, bend, cut, whatever I need to do to this piece once I've got it sitting where I want, and then I'll transfer it to metals. Alright, time out. I'm getting a little too ahead of myself. I only started the firewall because I didn't have any material for the rockers. We went for lunch and I found these. What are these? Let me tell you what these are. These are called crash bars. We call them crash bars. When I did collision, these are inside of every single door. All new cars have them. And this is what's supposed to take all the impact. That way the door doesn't just come in and, you know, smash you up. It's just tubing. I found them, so I didn't use that one. We got these. We set them in this little T, clamped them down, welded them, and now I've already got them marked down. So I'm about to go cut them, test fit them, and hopefully I'll be welding these things in about 5 minutes. So remember, the biggest thing to remember about cutting these is keep in mind how much that cuts off. That way you don't ever cut it too short. This is what the inside of my rocker is going to look like. And then it'll come down, and of course it'll be all covered here. I'm going to double check to make sure that the top of the floor is flush to this. That way all I have to do is just add a strip right here and I'll be attached. And this will be welded to my A and B pillar and the rear of the cab also. We've got the rockers. We found some impact bar that we use for a rocker reinforcement, whatever you want to call it. So now I'm going to drop everything because now that my rockers are in place, I really want to focus on that because once my rockers are in, I can start welding all my flooring and this thing will be solid after I get that done. So today's main focus, let's get the rockers welded in, let's get everything straight and start figuring out how we're going to do all the sheet metal. Plus, secondly, once I get the rockers all welded in, reinforced everywhere they're supposed to go, I can cut these welds off and open my doors. So I'll be able to climb inside, do a little bit nicer work. But for now, it's just going to be under and over. So here we go. Okay, so here is the tube I'm using for my rocker. Now this I don't need anymore. I was just putting this here to kind of hold my cab, keep it from coming down, or keeping this cab from coming down. But I don't need it anymore. What it did whenever I welded all this in, it pulled it and it left me a gap right here. So in order to close this gap here, I need to cut this off and bring this back this way. It'll help my door. It'll keep it more straight and open and close easier. At the same time, it'll get us flush where we need to be. So first I'm going to cut these off. Then after I cut that off, I'm going to extend my rocker. My rockers are going to then come up all the way to the top, to at least the top of the firewall if I can. So I tried bending this tube yesterday, but since it's an impact bar, it did not bend at all. Like, it really did not bend. So I'm just going to slice it, get the bend I need, meet it to here, and then just weld it, and I'll weld up my cuts. But I really think it would be really cool to just have it going from the, rear panel through the floor all the way up to the firewall. That's pretty solid there. So I'll kind of use this as a spine, and then I'll, rib off to the floor, and we'll be able to get it all welded up. All right, here's my piece that I'm going to add on to my rocker. So I drew my line here. It's kind of like just letting me know that this is the outside. This goes on the outside. So when I flip it completely 180 degrees around, this is the bottom side. I've already marked it every half inch for about 6 inches. And I'm going to slice it, but not slice it all the way through. Just slice it enough to where I could get a little curve and see if I can bend it enough to where I can meet up to the other one. Okay, so I put this in a vise. I sliced it. You see I've got my mark on the outside. Now what I want to do is pull it this way, and that's how much bend I get. So now I'll tack these. I'll check it. If I have to, I'll come back. I'll slice it again, bring it back down again, re-tack it again, and that should bring me pretty low. and go test fit it and see where I'm at. All right, now to test my piece, I come in here, set this on my rocker, and you see that it needs to come up some more. So I need to either cut it some more. I may extend my bends out. Let me see. Yeah, I'm going to extend my welds out to here. That way it'll bend a little bit more. And then I'll come back in here. And what I'll end up doing is in between these tack welds, I'll split it again. That way I'm, able to fold it some more. Let's try it again. All right, so we're trying it again. And you see that I need to come up pretty drastically right there. It's just not giving me what I need. And it's kind of frustrating. So I'm going to figure something else out. I don't know if y'all remember this piece. I ended up cutting it. This one fit a little bit better than my other round tubing I was using. The round tubing just seemed like it was too many problems, and I set this up there on my first try, and it's like, voila, there I am. Look at me. So I'm not even going to argue with it. I'm just going to say, okay, you're it, and tack this bad boy in. All right, here we go. Make sure it's straight. Stare at the light. All right. Okay. I'll let it go. It doesn't really move that much. Let it cool down. And then I will move to the top and get that tacked up there. And it looks like, see, this is flush. Yeah, this is going to work great. Looking good. I've got my second brace in, so now I'm just going to weld it in a little better and then cut these brackets off, try to straighten out my A-pillar to my rocker. Then after that, it's just weld. Alright, so back to where we left off. Before I started on the rockers, before I found this impact bar, welded them together, threw them in as my rockers, I was working on the Firewall. So we're going to go back to that. This is a piece that I had made before. I'm using the same one. And I've got it kind of fitting in there. It looks like I'm going to have to add a little piece right here. So I'll just make me a little note to add a little bit. Looks like about an inch, so I'll just add an inch from right there to right there. I'm going to go ahead and transfer this to sheet metal, and once I get it transferred to sheet metal, I'll do my bends. We'll come test it again, and then I've got to make a spot for my hole to insert my computer wires, my memory, whatever it is. Here we go. Okay, so I've got my piece of sheet metal. I set it on there. Right here I said I was going to add an inch. So what I'll do is get my straight edge, come over here, add about an inch to it. Looks like we're good to go. Alright, so I've got it marked down now to the good old Harbor Freight brake. I don't really recommend this one, but look at this. It works. So now, there it is, 1 inch exactly. And for the bottom one, I'm going to go over there, try it real quick, and then I'll come back over here and do my other bend. Alright, so got my piece here. I want to test fit it. I know it's going to fit because of my template, but when it's in metal, it's a little bit different because it doesn't bend and fold. So I'm going to use my marker to modify it. See, I've got my bolt that comes through here that holds my fender. So I'll notch it right here. Down here, it's got quite a awkward little bend there. So see that line I made there? I'm gonna fold it there, and it should hit the toe board, and then I'll just weld it once I get it bent. Of course, you get into this, so I'm going to have to cut this little corner out, and then so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I'm gonna mark my line all the way across, notch that out, bend it, and then come back, try it again. Oh, and I'm also gonna notch out my little notch right here. It'll look nicer than that. Now I remember why I notched it high, because when I bend this, it's gonna hit right here. So if I'm right up on it, it's not gonna give me no room to bend, and I need a little bit of room to bend. So I'm just gonna notch it a little bit higher just to clear my piece. Okie doke. Now let's watch this work. So I line up this bar first, and then you can slide this without it moving. You get it where you want it. I want mine right on the line. Once it's there, move the tape out the way, clamp it down. Oh, look at that. Let's try it on our piece. Okay. Right away, I see I got too much bend in this. So, I'll get my trusty little hammer, and I'm just going to tap it. Okay, when I put this piece down there, I was setting it in place, and as I felt underneath, I saw that it wasn't flat right here. And it wasn't flat because if you can see down here, you see that it's flat right here, and then I've got this little curve, this hump right here. So I marked it. I marked it right here. And what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to end up notching that out also. And then I can mark and weld this up. It either butt weld it to this, or I could just overlap it and then just overlap this and plug weld it. Either way, just showing you, you know, as you're fitting it on there, you're feeling everywhere, marking it, trimming it, and it's just going to be continuous until it fits the way you like it. So this is what I started off with. And this is what we ended up with. You know, it's all about trial and error. Now that we've pretty much got what we need and it covers our hole, I've already test fitted it a few times. Okay, now we have this, now that we have this piece tacked in, now we can start working on this other piece to shut it. So there it is. Here's my piece. That's the shape that I need. All right, we started off with this. I took it to the English wheel, curved it. See my curve, I was able to bend it. Then I did another one, which this will weld to my firewall, and this will weld to my A-pillar on this side. Next after this is clicking it in place. Might have to tweak it here and there for sure. We'll get started on the other side. I'll film the way I rolled this on the English wheel when I do the other side. So when I put it on my sheet metal, I know that this mark is where I'm going to bend down and fold. We'll get our piece, stick it in the machine. Now just have it touching. I don't have really any pressure. It barely touched. I'm going to leave it there. And basically just follow that line. And as I follow the line, I'm just going to press down on this. Back through. So you start to see the curve. I'll come over here and test it out. I know it needs more, but I'll test it out real quick. Make sure I'm going in the right direction. There we go. Now that looks a whole lot better to me. I don't know what it looks like to y'all, but I'm a pretty happy camper with that. So I'm going to bend it a little bit more on the English wheel. Come in here, trim it, and shoot, start tacking this thing on. It looks pretty solid all the way around, so I'm going to stick with that. Okay, now you see I'm putting all the pressure down, just rolling it back and forth. Now, as long as your lip is small, I'm talking about this lip here, you can bend a 90, you can bend, shoot, you can bend a circle probably. I've never tried it. Also have a shrinker and a stretcher that works great also, which I prefer. Okay, so like I said here before, it's got a dip here. So I may have to put a dip in my piece, which I don't mind, as long as it all sits nice. That's all I care about. So that's where I want it. Okay, the bottom line I just marked, that lets me know that I can spot weld all here on this area, and there will be no issues. And this mark here tells me that I'm going to trim this, and my welds will be here, and all this will be cut out. I'm going to go with it. I'm going to go ahead and drill my holes first, prep my metal. That's what they call it when they say, hey, prep your metal. It's basically get all your holes done, get it ready to cleco in place, and start spot welding. Right here where I marked it, where it dipped in a little bit. So I'm just going to put a little bit of a dip to my shaping bag, and I'll put it as flat as I can. It doesn't have to be perfect, because I'm going to end up pushing it down anyways and making sure that it stays flat up against the floor. That'll give me a good start. Push this up to there. So you see, as I drill through, put my cleco in, and I tap it down, you see how flat it's starting to sit. Got this tacked in, kind of fugly. It'll get grinded off. Inside, I still have to spot weld into the A-pillar. I'm not going to do it just yet. I'm going to go ahead and make my other piece down here since I'm here. Alright, so now transfer to sheet metal. Bent it, cut it, folded it. Let's see. And I guess all there's left to do is test fit it. Alright, quick tip real quick. You see my piece and it looks okay, right? Not too bad. But you see all my corners are just sharp, pointy corners. So just a little trick I'm going to show y'all real fast. Make it look like a professional did it. So all you do is round your corner. Alright, so you see it now. It looks very professional. And all we did was round the corners. Quick laugh. We're sitting there, we're welding our floors up. We put our rockers in. We're working on the firewall, closing up all the gaps. Happen to look down, what do I see? Yep, the emergency brake. Doesn't fit anywhere. I was supposed to like put it up there first and then put my stuff in there. I didn't do it, so next thing, I guess we're just gonna have to release it from under the cab. There's like a chain link down there. Pretty easy. You just pull on the cable, vice grip one side, pull on the other cable, vice grip the other side, and then you gotta just wiggle them little things out. It's like an old necklace, a little chain link. It's a little bit hard, but once it comes, pops loose, it's out. no problem. All right, so we're gonna disconnect it from right here. Little hack I learned. Webb Wheeler, I think was his name, teaching us easier ways to not stress. So let's try it, see if it works. You get a regular hose clamp, you put it over this little dilly. I don't have the tool for it, so let's see if this works. Ah, look at that. It worked. Super cool. Thank you, Interweb. So now, here we are. All I'm going to do basically is I'm going to cut out little pieces and kind of attach my floor to the body. Once I get the floor and the body, you know, welded together, then later on I'll come in with one big solid plate. I'm going to double plate it because I'm having to do it with 20 gauge. It'll be strong. I'm not worried about it, especially with all the bracing that's going in it. And, you know, that's how front wheel drive cars are made anyways. It's just skin over skin over skin. So you do that enough times, put some bends in there, it'll be strong. All right, so now I've got it all level where it's supposed to be. I'm going to go ahead and follow these lines, and I'm going to use them as witness lines. And basically, all I really want to know is, did the cab move when I cut the welds? So this will tell me. Here we go. Let's cut. Moment of truth. Oh, I'm getting caught on the fender. There we go. Nice. Look at this. Goes back. Everything stayed lined up. So it's exactly what we wanted to see. That is a good day today. Now that I've got the door open and it opens up so good, I'm super happy right now. I'm going to start finishing up this floor the way I've got it patched. And then, like I said, I'm going to do it like this first. Once I have it down like this, I'm going to put bigger plates because I'm going to probably roll a bead in there. That way it'll be super strong and it'll be nicer to have like controlled spot welds and just make it look kind of nice because, you know, you're going to see it when you open the door. All right, we're on this side now. I'm gonna let y'all look too. I'm gonna go ahead and cut these welds off, and y'all let me know if y'all see it move. As you can see how much the door fell. It was up here and it fell to here. So I'm gonna go ahead and lift it back up with the jack. I'll re-tack it, and then I guess I'll do some more welding on the inside. There wasn't as much. Yeah, there's no kind of flooring on this side, so I kind of just chanced it and it didn't work, so no big deal. Okay, so I like to set my jack and stuff back here in the back because with the 2x4, because that's where the hinges are at. So